Another mastermind hit.
People have come up against is when it comes to their children. What should the patient consider if they're in a child custody case and the cannabis use is something that the spouse is trying to use against them?
The people who wrote this law did a good job of thinking about that one ahead of time as well. The law specifically says under the liability section that a person's participation in the program cannot be the only or a primary reason. Child custody, parenting rights, all of these things depend on what's in the best interest of kids. And in order to get kids removed from a situation in Ohio, someone has to present clear and convincing evidence that the child is in a situation that's unsafe. A person finding relief from medicinal marijuana does not make a child unsafe. So that shouldn't be a concern. On the other hand, a person who uses medicinal marijuana, puts their kid in the car seat and heads down the road is going to have trouble. So participation in the program in and of itself shouldn't be considered, shouldn't have an effect. It's like anything else in life. When you behave right and you use responsible thinking and you do things in moderation, you stay out of trouble and you stay on the right side of the law.
Right. I want to say thanks again, Brian Miller, and I wanted to see if the audience has any questions.
So, question.
Sure.
A lot of times I hear patients, or people just come up to us and ask, I want to get my car, but I got my concealed carry. What would you say to that?
Ohio does not allow both. The question was about having a concealed carry license. The application to purchase a firearm, the federal application asks if you are a user of illegal drugs, and that's according to federal law, not state law, so you can't purchase a firearm, and you can't simultaneously carry a gun and use. So there are questions that relate to that on the concealed carry application as well in Ohio. Michigan is the only state that I know of that has a workaround that allows people to own a gun and participate in the program, but they're also breaking federal law. And so all those people are running the risk of breaking federal law because the feds haven't caught up to the states. And there's a couple really exciting things that are happening. Last week, the SAFE Act passed the House, and that allows medicinal marijuana businesses to do businesses with banks. It hasn't passed the Senate, and I don't think it will. Later in the week, the House Judiciary Committee passed the MORE Act, which would actually decriminalize marijuana crimes nationally. And that could also eventually lead to sealing records, like a lot of the states out west have done. Washington, California specifically, just sealing old marijuana crime records.
Right, yeah. Anyone else have any questions?
Yes.
So going off of owning the firearm and also having the medical card, what if you were to own the firearm before getting the medical card? What would happen there?
Well, nothing would happen unless and until someone found out.
Right, okay, cool.
But you potentially could be charged with federal firearms charges. You never want to be charged with a federal crime because the federal authorities generally don't charge people until they've gotten dead to rights. So the answer is, technically, you shouldn't have them.
Right.
Great. Anyone else? Any questions? We can go one more question here. A lot of these people in this room are already knowledgeable about the law because they've been through it on one side of it.
I see a lot of nodding heads.
Yeah.
So we're a savvy crowd.
Question.
What about flying?
Flying, that's it.
If you go to Colorado and you buy a bunch of edibles and you don't finish them and you're coming home to Cincinnati, can you bring them? Don't forget, even if you're licensed in Cincinnati, you're not technically in Ohio allowed to use your Ohio card to consume, purchase, possess, transport stuff from another state. You're also flying into Kentucky, which is a really bad idea, because Kentucky and Indiana are not friendly when it comes to marijuana. They really are not. So can you take your stuff, can you take your product that you have purchased legally based on a recommendation and put it in your bag and fly to wherever you're going? Again, you have to go to Kentucky to get on the airplane. So no. But if you're flying out of Dayton, now you're up in federal airspace where I'm not really sure whose laws apply, but I would not recommend doing this.
Right. Any other questions? Free legal advice, people. I mean, this is costly. You got to take this benefit. Well, anyway, thank you. I want to say thank you again to Brian Miller and also to Dr. James Weeks, who have helped us as a presenting sponsor, as well as Clutch Cannabis. And we would like to invite anyone who is a patient. Now, we'll let Brian go off, and we will be back at 6 p.m. The music will start over at Woodburn, so we hope you all come on over there. In the meantime, we've got Benny Leaves over here in Clutch Cannabis. So, and is there any patients that would like to come up and talk a little bit about their experience? Anyone? Anthony, come on up. This is Anthony Riley. He's with Ohio Cannabis Live. And yeah, Anthony, welcome. Thanks so much for coming down. Tell us a little bit about your experience with cannabis and the program so far.
All right. I've been in the program since it began, as far as it coming online. That was back in January of 2019. At that time, we only had 4 dispensaries open, and I believe we only had 3 cultivators that passed testing. Many of the cultivators at the beginning of the program had issues with the testing. So on day 1, we had 3 cultivators and we had like 5 choices. And I remember you couldn't even buy an ounce. You could buy a unit. And that unit was quite expensive. So fast forward to where we are today, sitting here, having this event. Other events are happening, other events are scheduled to happen. I would say we have come a long way in 2 years. Unfortunately, I think the state didn't realize that we were going to come this fast. And now you add the COVID-19 pandemic with it. As others mentioned, that also increased our numbers tenfold. Now we're looking at a program with almost 400,000 patients, or if you're counting here, maybe a little less. But now that the program is trying to expand, it's really difficult. And like I said, the main thing that patients like me are always concerned about is price. Price. I don't know if a lot of people realize this or not, but each dispensary has a different sales tax rate. So that means if you live in, let's say, Cincinnati, the sales tax here is 8%. But if you live in Carroll, Ohio, the sales tax is only 6.75%. So I live in Columbus. The sales tax in Columbus is 7.5%. So I have 6 dispensaries in Columbus I could go to, but every last one of them, the sales tax is 7.5%. So what I found myself doing is driving 20 minutes outside of Columbus to Carroll, Ohio, because the sales tax is only 6.75%. The indigent discount might be the same, the veteran discount might be the same. And 6.75 versus 7.5, that might seem insignificant, but if you're spending a lot of money on this stuff, it adds up. If you live in Columbus, there's a lot of places to go, but we have a big population here. So often there's a lot of wait, and it's hard to get things you want. So if you're a patient and you find something that you really think is helping you medicinally, then you find yourself looking all over for it. And then also trying to find it on sale. And that's the challenge that we have. And just talking to a lot of patients, having meetings with patients every week, and trying to figure out what can we do better. I mean, it's just some people do not have the information. I mean, some people don't even understand how the day system works to this day, and they've been a patient for 2 years. I still learn stuff new about how the day system works, and I've been in this since it started. So it is definitely a challenge for many patients, especially patients who are disabled like myself, who can't travel, who are afraid to come out of their house because of the virus. It's huge, it's hard. So to see this many people here together, trying to do something for the community, help people know what's going on, it's a huge thing. That's why I made it out of my way to be here today, because I feel like the more people have these type of events, the more people will start to come out of their shell a little bit and not be so afraid to come out and talk about cannabis, talk about what your experiences are, and ask the tough questions like Ash about guns. That is a conversation that comes up all the time about guns and cannabis. And these are the kind of conversations that we should have. And I think it's very important that those gentlemen were very clear about the fact that we have zero protection. Zero. So, I look at all these legislations that are out right now, and I've read through most of them. I ain't read every single page, but I'm still looking for that part that says, hey, if you live in an apartment and you're a card user or you've used cannabis recreational, you're not going to get kicked out of your apartment. I'm looking for that part in there that says, hey, if you work at the bank and they find out that you're a cannabis user, you won't lose your job at the bank. But I don't see that. And everybody keeps saying, well, when recreational comes, that'll follow with it. Well, we already know. If it's not in writing, we're not protected. And it just goes on and on and on. So we definitely have to stand together, all of us, no matter what group you come from, no matter what you look like, no matter where you're from. We have all got to be together on this. Because if we're not, this is just going to be one bumpy ride for the next 10 years. Because everybody was comparing us to Michigan, and they're 10, 11 years ahead of us. So we're babies in this cannabis industry, and we have got to get it together now before everything else just goes and leaves us in the dark.
Right.
Any questions?
Yeah. Personally, Anthony, how has cannabis helped you?
All right.
Let's do the good side of it now that we've complained.
The dark side. Okay, yeah. So the talking about positive things. So the positive part of it is that fact that for somebody like me, I have a traumatic brain injury, and I have a lot of anxiety, and so using cannabis and finding something that works besides opiates is a blessing. And for me personally, I started out doing some videos about what the containers look like. And next thing you know, I'm doing reviews, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I realized, I was like, this is helping me. Because helping people is just as good as the medicine itself. So the more I help people, the more I was able to make a difference for people by giving them just the information they didn't have, the more better I started to feel mentally, physically, and emotionally. So the cannabis is a great healing, but also the people that you encounter with it also can be a healing. And that's what I've learned personally. The more you use it and the more you connect with people, the more it can seem to have like a natural healing effect all on its own. Whether you're smoking it, vaping it, eating it, drinking it, whatever your poison is. I should say poison, whatever your choice is.
Yeah, just the opposite, right?
That's old talk, old folks say that, poison. But anyway, you know what I mean. Whatever your choice of is that there's a lot of options out here. For me, I was trying to keep up with every cultivator, every processor, every dispenser, but now it's almost impossible. I think I've tried all but 2 companies in the entire program. I've tried something. So it's really a lot for people. Books need to be written, let's just say that.
Right, absolutely. Great. Thank you very much. Anthony is with Ohio Cannabis Live as well, and he is also doing a lot of patient education, and we really appreciate that because we certainly can't do it all, and no one can. So it's wonderful to have connections with others that are also doing this type of education. Right. So thank you again, Anthony. Does anyone else want to share their patient story? Anyone? Patient story? Shauna, would you like to share your patient story? All right, this is Shauna, everyone. Hi. So tell us a little bit with cannabis?
I had about a 5-year period where I had numerous brain and spine surgeries, joint surgeries, and everything I was getting was making me sicker. And then, you would get the infections in and out of the hospital, and that the medications were making me sicker. And so my first experience was with the doctor. She wrote the prescription but didn't know anything about it. So I went on this crusade of learning by buying and failing, and then learning again. And then I became a patient of Dr. Weeks, and we kind of put together a protocol. And it's really helped, if you go through all that, you have a ton of PTSD. So it's really helped my emotional health, my physical health. It's helped me cut down on medications that make the rest of my body maybe not work. It's helped me see that there is a whole bigger holistic community and world out there. I do holistic trauma healing. I have a holistic chiropractor. And these are the people that come together to help you heal and care versus some of the brokenness and the silos of the medical system. That's what got me on my crusade for it. And then I went back after being really sick after a few years and finished my PhD, and it was because of cannabis. That helped me be able to things. And much like this gentleman, I've been on disability since 2012. And it's extremely difficult to afford your medication, but it's extremely important as well for your own healing, or my healing anyway.
Absolutely. And how would you say cannabis helps you the most?
It helps me in terms, with different strains. Like I use the Brixton-Sonoma at night for if I have a lot of pain. And then I use certain strains depending on how I'm feeling. If I have social anxiety, I use something with different terpene profiles than I would if I were going to bed.
Right.
But just learning what my body wants and needs and doesn't need, and how I feel both mentally and physically. I haven't taken a pain pill in 2 days because I've been learning to balance what I need.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is one thing that I know a lot of patients find that if they are on pain pills, and a lot of patients do need to be on opiates, especially post-surgically and for acute pain. But cannabis can be such a complement to that, and that's one thing that we've seen time and time again is that they have to take less pain medicine, and then there's other medicines as well that they can reduce or eliminate.
And Dr. Weeks is 100% correct. You got your insurance covers all these chemical medications, but we kind of overlook, at least for now, what's already natural within our system.
Right.
And that creates a dichotomy for so many of us.
For sure.
It's not affordable for everyone, but it's a magical medicine.
It really is. I know for me, and 2 years now, over 2 years now, clean from opiates, and it's made all the difference in the world. So it's good to see other people who it's helping as well. Thank you, Shauna. Anyone else? Okay, well, if no one else wants to speak, we will wrap things up and we will get back over to Woodburn Brewing. And people at home, come on out tonight. And all of you can all stick around. Ohio CBD guys are open until 7 tonight. And the music at Woodburn starts at 6 and will go till 10 o'clock. There are 3 bands. And please continue to enjoy. Thank you all.